You know, Donald Trump is the most pampered president in American history. I have never seen anyone who just gets the passes that this guy gets. He can go on television and he can lie his ass off nonstop, and no one fact checks him, no one calls him out. He's just allowed to say anything he wants to, whenever he wants to. He's allowed to completely shred the Constitution, completely ignore the rule of law, and post anything he wants to social media. And then they just spin it that, well, you know, he's really got the grip on the social media game. No one's ever used Twitter the way that he has. And meanwhile, they will set and they will hold an influencer to a higher account. If a 23-year-old influencer like Adam Mockler posted something that they don't like, they'll hold him accountable. They'll hold his feet to the fire. They'll bring him on the show and have him explain why he posted a meme. But the President of the United States can do anything he wants to do and get away with it. And it's truly disgusting. I'm going to show you a post that he made on his Truth Social, which, you know, he had to get his own social media platform so he could just absolutely spew anything he wants to unchecked. But then, of course, all the other platforms grabs these things and posts them to theirs as well. So here he is talking about former President Joe Biden. He says he is a criminal and he should be in jail, a major lowlife and failure, an ugly person both inside and out. I beat him badly and I love watching him squirm now. First of all, he never beat Joe Biden. He did not beat Joe Biden. He lost the 2020 election to Joe Biden, and he's never been man enough to accept it. And he can sit there. This is the thing about Trump. He can make his posts to social media, and he can say these things out loud. But he never has proof or evidence to back up anything he says. He can go on social media and say Biden's a complete and total failure, and he should be in jail. But explain exactly how he was. Bring the evidence, bring the receipts, show us how he really was, and show us why he should be in jail with credible evidence. He never does that. But again, Donald Trump is able to post anything like that he wants to social media, and he always gets a pass. So I want to play a couple of clips here from Gavin Newsom because he was on Meet the Press recently. And this next question was one of the stupidest questions I've ever heard uttered in an interview when he's asked if his rhetoric, hey, you're using Trump's rhetoric, and isn't that normalizing it? She actually asked him this with a straight face.
You have been one of the most outspoken Democratic voices against President Trump. And part of your tactic is to imitate some of what we see online from President Trump. So you mimic his all-cap posts, you send out similar memes. Do you run the risk of normalizing that behavior?
Quite the contrary. The whole expression was to not allow it to be normalized. It was becoming normalized. All this, the normalization of deviancy across the spectrum of issues. But his communication, he's dressing up as the Pope, as Superman. He's putting his face on Mount Rushmore. He's saying, thank you. It's madness. And so I put a mirror up to that madness.
I can tell you what this is. This is the mainstream media that are wanting the Democrats to be the adults in the room. They always hold the Democrat to the higher standard. And she actually said, do you run the risk of normalizing his behavior when the mainstream media has sat back and normalized it for the last 10 years? The reason why we're in the boat we're in today is because he gets to sit and spew his lies and his bullshit unchecked. And he uses the whole fake news narrative just like wrestlers use heel versus babyface. I have watched wrestling and I've listened to every wrestling podcast in the world, and I've heard the guys sit and explain how that we really got on television and we really acted as though we were enemies, and we laughed all the way to the bank. And that's what Donald Trump does. He uses fake news media, the fake news. He says it every chance he gets, and he does it so that anything that gets spoke about him negatively, then he can say, oh, well, that was all just a bunch of fake news. But he uses the fake news to his advantage, and he finds a way to spin it to where he comes out on top. But no matter what he tells you, he is an unpopular president, and Newsom points that out in the next clip.
Just mentioned, but it sounds like you're predicting a big night for Democrats on the Democrats.
I am, and for obvious reasons. I mean, this is a historically unpopular president. His policies are even more unpopular than the president himself. In every core category, he's underwater. And he's a guy who promised to make us wealthier and healthier. We're poorer and sicker. Across the board, people are starting to realize that not only is our coffee more expensive, their beef is more expensive, but the cost of an automobile is more expensive. Since he became president, the cost of utilities, all the things he promised to solve day one, he hasn't solved. So his recklessness aside, his style aside, the substance he hasn't delivered. And that's why, again, we're here at Prop 50, because he knows he's going to lose the midterms, and he's trying to rig the election before one vote is cast.
Folks, I would like to talk to you about Chapter. Medicare is supposed to benefit seniors, but it can be so confusing. And with many agents chasing commissions instead of caring about folks, millions of seniors end up on plans that aren't right for them every year, paying too much or not getting the care that they need. And that's just wrong. Listen, Medicare annual enrollment runs from October 15th through December 7th. Even if you like your current Medicare plan, it's critical to look at 2026 plans, or you risk losing coverage you need. That's because plans change every year, and some just disappear. That's why I want you to know about Chapter. They're the only advisors that check every plan nationwide to make sure you get one that works best for you. Their help is free, and they can review your options in under 20 minutes. If you're on the right plan, they'll tell you. If not, they'll help you switch. By doing this, they've saved people an average of $1,100 a year. So call Chapter today, get it done fast, and rest easy. You can reach them at 314-732-0423. He is an extremely unpopular president, but you would never get him to admit that, and you wouldn't get his base to admit it either, because they believe everything that comes out of his mouth. And what is so amazing to me is watching people suddenly just stop and quit complaining about all the things they were once complaining about, and they act like that it just suddenly, magically, all got better. And I say this all the time, but I know that it didn't, because we're shopping at the same grocery store. I can see that price tag the same as you. I can see that grand total the same as you. And there's not been one time since Donald Trump got reelected that I've looked at my grocery bill and went, dang, man, look how far that thing come down. Wow, we're great again. I've never had that moment, and deep down his followers have never had that moment. But Donald Trump already knows this deep down. He knows he's unpopular, and he knows that he can't win. He knows Republicans will lose because his policies are hurting Americans. So what's he trying to do? He's trying to rig the game to where he can guarantee himself a victory. And then again, it's kind of WWE style. It's like, I'm going to guarantee myself the victory and then say I'm the baddest man on the planet. That's pretty much what he's going for. And Newsom's trying to put a stop to that with Prop 50. Take a look.
And remember, it's Prop 50, because this impacts everyone watching in all 50 states. As I said a moment ago, Donald Trump is an historic president, historically unpopular. He's been very open and honest, including right outside the White House just last week, saying incumbents are likely to lose the midterms. That's why he called Greg Abbott. That's why he said he's, quote unquote, entitled. Think about that. Entitled to 5 seats. That's why he sent J.D. Vance to Indiana shortly thereafter. That's why he moved in Missouri. He moved the folks in North Carolina. And now we've got a special election in Indiana, or rather a special session, and likely movement in Florida. He is not screwing around. He's changing the rules. He's rigging the game because he knows he'll lose if all things are equal. He did not expect California to fight fire with fire.
And that's what we're going to have to do going forward, is fight fire with fire. And they're always going to try to hold us to a higher account than they will the Republicans. We will always get asked the tougher questions. We will always get asked if we're running the risk of normalizing his behavior if we stand up to him and hold up a mirror. But Donald Trump does know that he's unpopular, and he knows that Republicans can't win. And so he's rigging the game by continuing to hold on to the lie that the 2020 election was rigged. But I would just like to point out, he has yet to bring the evidence to the table. Do y'all remember when he went on Joe Rogan? You remember that? And he goes on there and he said, I have the proof, I have the evidence. And Joe Rogan said, well, you know what? No one's ever really give you the chance to talk, so I'll let you talk. You can go ahead and show me the evidence right now. And Trump was like, well, we will when the time comes. And he says, well, why not go ahead and do it now and let everyone see that it was rigged? Well, because he doesn't have the evidence to prove it. But he'll sit back, he'll make those claims, he will hang right onto that lie, and he's going to hang on to that lie, and he's going to ride it into the dirt, because that way he can then turn and say, see, we had to rig the game this way, we had to gerrymander, we had to do these things to guarantee that an election never got stole again. Donald Trump is absolutely one of the most master manipulators of all time. He is one of the most masterful grifters I've ever seen. I can look over at politicians I disagree with all day long, and I can say, you know what, I don't agree with that person, but they're a great politician. With Trump, I can't really do that. I can't look over at him and say that he's a skilled politician like a Dick Cheney was. But with Trump, I can say he's one of the most masterful manipulators and grifters ever, and he was able to dupe people who will never have a shot at the lavish life he has. He was able to dupe them into believing that he was their guy, the billionaire, the common man. It's one of the craziest things that we've ever witnessed. But we do have Prop 50. We're going to try to fight back. We're going to fight fire with fire, and we're going to try to stop this madness. And so everybody get out, get to the polls, vote, and encourage other people too, because, folks, that's the thing. We got to get in the game. You can't stay home with a guy like this. You can't sleep on a guy like this, and we can't ever lose sight of that.